Hey folks, today is September the 26th. It's currently 8:54 in the morning. We are in the fxsimplifier trade room, and it looks like they have one trade open. Over the weekend, I actually had a Windows 10 update go through, and since it did, a lot of things are looking different on my computer. And I also had an issue with MetaTrader 4. I tried signing into my forex.com account, and it started asking me for my password and some other stuff. And obviously, I'm not one of those people that saves passwords. So unfortunately, I didn't have it. So I had to go back to the company and try to get it. And I did end up getting it. And now it looks like things aren't working as they should be for some reason. Because you guys can see here, I'm not entered into that trade. So that's a bit disappointing. I'm going to have to try and figure out exactly why I'm not in this AUD CAD trade. And actually, let me go ahead and log back into the back office really quick and see if I'm still attached. Because I got a few error messages before going to my MT4 account. All right, so yeah, it says invalid. All right, status is invalid. So let's click on suspend. And let's click on enable and see if we can't get this back to online. All right, so it does say status online. I'm going to have to watch it. And hopefully when they enter another trade or another pending order, we'll get filled on that one. But for this particular instance, I'll go ahead and make sure that I show whether this trade is a profit or a loss. And also they show it in the back office, so you guys can check that as well. And don't forget, I am now trading 0.30 lot size. As you guys can see, I was previously trading 0.25 lot size, but they've given me the thumbs up to go ahead and up my lot based on the profits we made last week. All right, let's go ahead and see what they're talking about in the trade room, and hopefully things will get back to normal now.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
All-time low here, which is fairly recent, within the last year and a half. And we were looking like we might go down and test that, come down to one spot, 0, 1, equally matched. Okay, so that did not happen. We saw a tremendous rally last week, huge rally. And when you look at the daily, you really see what that can look like. And how quickly the tone can change. You can even see I have a green band down here looking for a potential decline down at that level, which I don't think will happen now, personally. But we see a big correction, and it was breaking down sharply initially below this uptrend line, but then it was a real fight. And any downside that was won was bloody and really bulls defending it. And finally, the bears ran out of steam, and it started rallying back. It rallied back 100% of this recent breakdown, right? This broke down, rallied, took all of it back. The bulls took all of that bearish, those bear gains back. And this is where I was looking for a consolidation, even if it was a couple of days, just pause for a couple of days, and then maybe attempt to move higher. Well, didn't get that. Simply got two massive up days in a row, and today, last night, in fact, it opened lower. You can see it closed here Friday, opened slightly lower to last night, and yet it's trading up again, slightly above Friday's close. So this is one that I think, and certainly many on the team think, could be a really longer term, a real potential nice winner if it can. I'd like to see certain technical benchmarks achieved to take out these prior highs. It hasn't done that for a while. Take out a prior high. However, this is certainly, I think, telling last week's advance. And so, short term, what am I thinking? Well, if I could dial it up and get what I want, I would get a modest pullback here. I would just get a 2 or 3 day pullback down to maybe a newly rising 20 day moving average, a key fib level right here, one spot 042 area. That's what I'd love to see. However, it's strong enough advance last week that might just consolidate. And in fact, on the 60-minute chart here, you see so far it's just going relatively sideways from Friday. So keep that in mind. That's why it's in yellow on my screen, by the way, is because it is potentially in the process of a bottoming phase. AUD/JPY I had put in yellow. Because it was basically near the lows, but that's now history. It has rallied all the way off the lows, so that was a potential short idea and just never weakened further. So I will take that out of yellow and out of the watch color. We will continue scanning. If you just joined us, no significant data today, no central bank decisions this week. However, it's 9 a.m. Eastern now. In 1 hour, we'll have ECB's Draghi speaking. That could potentially move some markets. There are new home sales released, U.S. data. 10:30 a.m., potentially insignificant, but you never know. Dallas Fed is just worth mentioning. And Tag, what do you think about later this evening, Bank of Japan minutes? FOMC minutes certainly can occasionally move markets. What about BOJ minutes?
These could. Bank of Japan and Ministry of Finance and the Prime Minister of Japan, they're all, I'd say on average, way, way, way more open than the Fed governors are. So they're always talking about stuff. Like a thing came out last night. Let's see. Oh, I guess as a former guy from the Ministry of Finance talking about what he thinks should happen. We get that too. But it was, who was it? It was Kuroda, so their Bank of Japan guy, talking about how for more currency intervention, he's like, oh, you'd have to talk to the Ministry of Finance people on that. And just the way he said it, just the way they seem to be is they're pretty open about most of their stuff. So on average, it doesn't matter. That doesn't mean it won't, because like you said, I mean, if there's some stuff in there they haven't talked about that the market deems significant, that could move things. If you look at the yen on a weekly chart over the past 5 years, all the big move has been very central bank driven. Like they were actually trying to make that happen. This one, they're not, like the whole yen strengthening this time. So their minutes could matter. It's a potential market mover. I wouldn't put it at a high likelihood of it, but central bank minutes, anything out of a central bank's a potential real mover, because they really do yield such impact. Because one, they pick what your short end rates are, right? So what your savings account rate basically is, and that matters because that's kind of what everything else is based on. If you go borrow money from the bank, you're going to be paying whatever plus LIBOR, which LIBOR is, it's not, but it's essentially based on short-term. It's anchored by short-term rates.
Let's define LIBOR for people for a minute.
London Interbank Offered Rate is what it actually stands for. But basically, every day they go all the G10 countries. Australia and New Zealand have the OCR, official cash rate. It's basically the same thing. You have your banks, and they take like an average of the rates that they're lending out at, and then that's the LIBOR for that period. So you have 1 week, 2 week. 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 6 month, and 12-month LIBOR. That's very standard. There's some other tenors in there, but those are the ones that they typically have. And so when you borrow from a bank, though, typically what you're doing is like LIBOR plus X amount of basis points. And then if you're a corporate borrower, you're typically going to be a floating rate loan, which means if rates go higher, the cost of your loan goes up. If rates go lower, the cost of your loan goes down. But the bank spread is typically pretty much the same. So it'll be like LIBOR plus 100 or plus 200, which means 100 basis points, which is 1%, or 2%, something like that. So they're looking in to earn the spread because they can hedge out their LIBOR exposure. But so central banks will control the overnight rate to the banks. And so that's kind of where everything comes from. If you think of a whip, and this is actually a good example. Think of a whip. You're holding the whip's handle, and that controls everything that happens out on the whip to some level, right? If you get whipping around crazy, then yeah, it's not going to be perfect. If you point this way, maybe you already had some momentum going with the end of the whip to this other way, but eventually it's going to come back over there type thing. And the short end kind of acts as the anchor for that in the same way that your hand does for a whip, that it's like, yeah, it controls that, but there is a lot of movement down that other end that they don't necessarily have control over any given moment. Over time, they seem to have a decent amount. So central banks can totally affect that, right? They get to pick what the short-term rate is. They'll raise it when they think the economy is overheating to slow things down. They'll lower it when they think it's slowing to speed things up, trying to smooth out the business cycle. And overall, I guess they've been okay at it with some big misses. Right now, what Japan's also trying to do, right, so their statement last week is they're not just controlling the short end, they're trying to control the long end, meaning instead of just regular quantitative easing where they can buy longer-term bonds, they actually gave an explicit target for the 10-year, which is really interesting, and it's finally starting to get some coverage, but I think it's underappreciated. But they're trying to control the shape of the yield curve and not just the short end of the yield curve, meaning basically they're trying to control even more interest rate stuff than all the other banks are, which is probably already overreaching, but whatever. So they're doing that, and then central banks can also essentially create money out of thin air. Not in the most literal sense, like they're not out printing money, that's what the Treasury's job is, but they're able to create more buying power for them. They don't get margin calls, so they can buy all of whatever they need to. So if they say we're doing this, well, they can.
All right, folks, it looks like I'm gonna have to go ahead and pause it. We're past 10 minutes, I should say. We're at 11 minutes and 30 seconds here, so I'm gonna pause it. I'm gonna come back around 10:30, 11 o'clock. And hopefully they will have entered another trade by then so we can see if my account is active or not. Let me go ahead and refresh the page. Yeah, it says invalid again. To be honest, I've had quite a few problems since updating to Windows 10. This is just the most recent. You know, these updates are always changing something. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do to fix it. I'm going to have to call support and try to see what's going on. I'll pause it, and support opens up at 10 o'clock. So that means I have about an hour to go. So we'll see what happens. All right, folks, I just got off the phone with support. Since I had to change my password for my forex.com account, they told me that I had to remove my previous account and just re-add it with the new password, and I just did that, and now it says online again, and I set my allocation once again to 0.30. So everything is as it should be. All right, let's go ahead and check in with the trade room and see what's going on there.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
And then you'll freaking kill it on that. But if you have a bad plan, then unless you're the super exception, then you're just screwed and it's not going to work out. So, I don't know, all kind of a long way of saying don't assume you're the exception and put in the work. So I don't know, I went on a long, what do they say? I'm verbose.
Hey, yeah, but it's meaningful.
And now I'm conceited or whatever. I probably came pretentious using that word. No?
Taking a closer look at USD CAD, and I don't have much more meaningful to say about this that I haven't already said. So this trend line looks a little askew here. Interesting. Sometimes it happens on this platform. It's a little annoying. At any rate, in a new symmetrical triangle, potentially here, and we're keeping very focused on the CAD today. Anything based against the CAD, because we're in Aussie CAD, which finally is trading at a new high since entering.
Guys, I just actually saw something pop up on my chart. I'm just going to click over here and see what that is. All right, so it looks like they went ahead and entered me into that AUD CAD trade and also a Euro Swiss franc. I'm actually going to check the back office one more time, and I want to see if those are simply the trades that I missed. All right, so it looks like AUD CAD, Euro Swiss franc. All right, so it looks like they entered me into the 2 trades that they had, which is good. That means I'm not going to miss anything. All right, let's go ahead and get back to the trade room. Just wanted to give that quick update because I happened to notice them pop in down here. Good stuff.
Welcome to the webinar. You have entered as an attendee in listen-only mode.
That's a pretty compelling chart. If we weren't in this, I'd probably be looking at that. So there are some other pairs based against the CAD that look pretty decent. So nice breakout. Let's see what we can get in terms of momentum here in the short term, and obviously next steps could be anything from potentially a raised stop if it can progress meaningfully higher, potentially an exit. Don't have the luxury of partial exits right now. That's something that maybe we will in the future, although I don't suspect that will be as a high priority.
Not anytime soon, probably.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, either. So, what are the if one can exit partially, which of course one can by dividing lot size if you're trading on your own. What are some of the benefits? Benefits are being able in a successful trade to lock some in at a based on momentum. This kind of breakout maybe moves a little bit higher. Locks them in. But if it's a pattern with greater potential, in your view, that might require sitting through noise and choppiness and turbulence, then one can benefit potentially from exiting at a good price on the breakout, that initial momentum, and now one has locked in some profit and now has let's say the other half position can chop more freely. Psychologically, you have a little bit of an advantage in the fact that you've already locked in some profit, and you can be a little bit freer. You can give a little bit more breathing room to the second lot, so to speak, the second half of the trade. So those are some of the benefits. We don't do that here, and it's not possible in the Simplifier, but that is certainly something you might want to think about. And there are certain cases where maybe it wouldn't be a good idea. I mean, if the numbers don't work out, if you're always if you let's say took 2/3 of the trade off at one time with the most nominal profit scenario, and then let the remaining third ride longer and often more successfully, but you only have a third riding on that, but then you take the full brunt of any loss with the whole position, that might not mathematically work out. So you have to look at the numbers there, be a student of your trading. I'm kind of morphing into another topic, but something that Tag and I like to do, which is, look at our trades and see if there's, see what we can learn by tracking our trades and so on.
Yeah, if you're not tracking your trade history in a spreadsheet, or on paper, I guess you don't know how to use a spreadsheet, but outside of just your broker statement, you're doing it wrong. For a variety of reasons. I mean, one, writing them down or typing them in, actually there's some value there. But really the stats you can keep, you can do so much with to really analyze how to improve your trading. And you can learn how to improve your winners, let alone your losers, just on risk management, right? Like, hey, what's my position size? What was I risking? What was my target? What's my risk-reward ratio? How long am I in my trade? How long is my typical trade? That type of thing. And it's endless. You don't have to track endless, even though it'd be nice if we had endless time. But there's quite a few things you can track that can give you a really good indication of where you need to improve and how to do it even most of the time. So, big fan of trading stats. I mean, the only way you really learn, obviously, is by seeing what you've done right and wrong in anything, I think. And so by going over your history of stuff, and so being able to go over your trades and then working on that going forward. Another thing I've seen people do, I used to do it for a while, and it's really useful, is every trade you do, print up a copy of that chart and then mark it up with what you're doing. Like, why did you get into it? What was your plan? When you get out of it, print up a new copy of the chart and show where you got out and why you got out, and how you manage the trade and all that type of thing. And then also keep your stats. Like, those are really useful exercises.
Agreed. One thing that I realized at one point, and I don't remember, what the year was. It was a long time ago, happily, but I realized that my losses were like a treasure trove. It was like a treasure chest, because I felt that if I could study and really come away with even a couple nuggets of insight, wisdom, whatever, after studying all of these losing trades, or at least, some of them, that I might be better for it. And that certainly was the case. So I don't have the time period actually in my mind anymore. I often do. I actually do remember a lot of those pivotal turning points, but that might have been end of 96, or, it was a long time ago. But the idea of just your losses being a treasure trove of potential improvement, insight, whatever, is an important idea. One of the reason is they can be hard to look at. They can be like, oh yeah, you wince while you look at those, and you go, oh God, I remember that. That was a bummer. That was hard. So that looking at that and learning from that can really be valuable to look at the stuff that is hard. So AUD/CAD off of its high, it broke out nicely, but not in a way that gave us tremendous. It rallied to one spot, 0066.5. A few pips above entry, but it has stalled and just doesn't look like a CAD is strengthening a little bit. Actually, watch this briefly, but I don't like the action here, in fact, in this pair all of a sudden. And this is one that it is weakening. CAD strengthening. Let's see if this can bounce a little bit, folks. It's lower left of my screen. Testing some prior lows. Man, EuroCAD really falling. Yeah, CAD is really rallying. This is off its extreme low at the moment.
Yeah, high day in oil.
New high, interesting. Yeah, and these movements are herky-jerky in oil today. I mean, we've seen this a couple times. This is struggling with it. See if it can just rally a little bit off the low back to maybe the 20 period moving average in this chart.
All right, guys, we're in 3 trades right now, and they're not moving in the direction I'd like them to be moving in. Let's check out AUD/CAD once again. Let me see where that was. That is pretty close to our stop, closer than I'd like, about 8 pips away. So hopefully the market will turn around here so that we don't get stopped out on that trade. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pause it, and I'm going to come back about 10:45 to end this session.
Literally, you should be having like a little party for yourself. Like, sweet, I got like 70% of that move. Like, hallelujah. Which means, yeah, like at the top, hey, I suffered a 10% drawdown from my peak high, but it's like, but I made all this extra money from it. So overall, that's awesome. It's just, it is what it is. Like, yeah, because with me, so on my longer term trades, when they work out, you know how I get out of like almost all of them? There's been a few exceptions. I get out by getting stopped out. Because why? When they're moving in my favor, I keep bumping my stop up or down, obviously, as the case may be, and bumping it, and then eventually get hit. And then I'm like, okay, well, hopefully I get another entry. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I don't, that's the end of that trend. If I do, then I'm in it again, typically at a worse price, and then I bump up my stop, get stopped out. And these are my winning ones. My wrong ones, I get in it, I wait, and then I get stopped out. Right, hit a loss, hit a straight total loss. And then I get in it, and then I wait, and then I get stopped out. And then I get in it, and then I get stopped out that same day. And I'm like, And then, after one or two, or after every one, you reassess, hey, is this still a good idea? Do I still believe this is a good idea? Okay, now I look for another good setup. But on the winners, it's like I just assume, because I've gotten I can't remember the stock's name. I got one top one time. That was amazing. It wasn't like by plan. It wasn't like, I'm picking a top. I sold it, and then I'm looking like, wait. And I went to the time and sales. I was one of the 3 last trades. I'm like, yes. I felt really cool. But I barely made any money on the trade, but I nailed the top. And I've gotten a bottom 3 times. So whatever. And I've done a gazillion trades. And it's and those, by the way, none of them were I'm picking a top or bottom. It's just I'm closing the trade out right here. This looks good. And then ended up being the top or the bottom. The people that try to plan that, oh yeah, I nail tops and bottoms. Yeah, you nail on my A, and you don't nail crap. I've never seen anyone that says they nail that actually does. That's fine. You can laugh at it.
No, it was. Let me point out. You had mentioned throwing a party. This will be very quick, and then I'm going to comment on AUD CAD and what you might expect since this is still open. And I'll likely issue a target here in the next 9 minutes before we wrap up. Continues to be choppy, this AUD CAD, in any trade involving the CAD, Euro CAD, Aussie CAD, NZD CAD, looking at them all, US CAD, been looking at a lot this morning. They're all choppy the last several minutes, so certainly very interesting action. But I will issue a target, and then I'll remind you how things can get updated. Sometimes things get closed out, and then an update gets sent. It really will vary. So I'll run through that in a minute. Hey, real quick, I don't know what his entry was or what his exit was, but I traded on just a retail trading floor, and it had all levels of traders on this very small floor in the New York area many years ago. And one trader from France, I don't know if he came over just to learn trading and trade the U.S. market during that time with a very specific focus. I actually don't know that. I wish I'd asked him, or I wish I could remember. But bottom line, he basically bought Yahoo at incredibly low levels, and this is, Tag mentioned earlier, the craziness of the 90s. Here's the craziness of the 90s. Here's this incredible price spike in Yahoo, and he sold, I believe, somewhere on this upper shadow up here. He sold very near the high after having held it from very low levels. I don't know if it was from here or whether it was from down lower levels, but that was it. Everyone else is trading, and he bought this one thing, and just had the vision that this was going to be the trade, and he ended up being right. And so he did sell near the high, and what did he do? He did actually throw a party. That was it. He did not trade again, at least on that floor. He never. He was done. He did his trade, and I'm sure he placed other trades before that. But he saw that, he had an idea.
Monster hit.
That was what was going to happen. And when he would routinely ask experienced traders what they thought about that stock. He routinely asked them, what do you think about Yahoo? What do you think of Yahoo here? What do you think's going on? And he would just take it all in. He would make no changes to his position, but he would just kind of take it in. And finally, he obviously made the determination to sell, and it was very near the top, I remember, in retrospect. And so, he threw a party, and that's what he did. Folks, so only one trade today. Would love to have issued more. I didn't see the other opportunity. There were a couple things that were, could have set up in such a way. Some of the rallies against the yen, we kind of went through that in an educational sense, but they didn't set up in any kind of way that was easily tradable in the pip room anyways. So bottom line, one trade today, it showed tremendous strength as AUD-CAD to rally after that downward price movement, bullish engulfing, started to break out again and is being pushed back. So this keeps suggesting that it wants to go higher and break higher, but then it keeps struggling in this area. So like I said, we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to be quiet, give it over to Tag for a couple minutes while I just look at a couple areas to consider for a target, and then I'll put that out there. Also, I'll mention how this might get updated here on out.
Yeah, with that, 5 minutes. So we talked a lot about risk management, how it's important, blah, 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 right? And so what we've gone over before, what are the main components to it? So broadly speaking, to trading, you have, I can't remember the numbers, so I'll just go through them. You have an entry and an exit plan, right? What gets you into a trade, what gets you out of a trade. You have how much you're going to risk on that trade as a percentage of your portfolio, and then how much as a portion of your portfolio. There's other ways to measure it, but as a percentage of your portfolio, and then how big a position, right? So that's going to be your position size, then how much you're risking on the one trade. And with that, though, everyone always focuses on the entries and the exits. What I find is I get way more questions about, hey, so do you like this or this type of chart, or do you like it when this does this or when this does, when whatever, all kinds of different setups. And setups are very useful, don't get me wrong. Okay, they are very useful. In fact, I guess we can say they're very important, and we do put emphasis on it because it's something to learn. There's different ways to do entries, but there's good and there are but some ways that are bad. There's multiple types that are good, multiple that are bad. But in the end, if your risk management's really bad, it almost won't matter. And that part, you can't learn the wisdom part of it faster, but you can actually learn it faster because a lot of it is simple arithmetic type stuff. Okay, position sizing. What does that mean? How big a position am I taking, right? And so if you only want to risk X percent of your portfolio per trade, your position sizing is a big way of how you're going to get there. Okay. Because you have here's my entry, here's my exit if I'm wrong, so here's where my stop is. Now how much am I risking? Well, if you're risking your whole account, that's how much you're risking, right? If it's a 30 pip stop, you're risking whatever the 30 pip and the dollar value is on that. If it's $10, then you're going to be risking, whatever, $300 on that trade. Well, if you're putting your whole account into every time, well, I guess that's what you're risking. I really, really, really don't recommend that at all. But, to each his own. So typically what you want to do is be risking a part of the portfolio. And with that, though, I don't know. What I'm trying to get at, and we'll do a lesson on this, we talk about this a fair amount, but you want to be focusing on We want to be focusing on everything. Put some extra emphasis on your risk management. Okay, that's a better way to say it. Put some extra emphasis on your risk management. Go through and actually do some of the math. Look at your past 10 trades. Really look at all your trades. But look at your past 10 trades if you want a simple thing to start working on. And look at, okay, when did I get in? When did I get out? Mark up a chart. Okay, how much was I risking? How much did I make? A lot of people think if they're not doing 100% a month, they're failing. And that's just because they see stupid advertisements on some scammy Google AdWords ads. Okay, the reality is that's not like a real thing, 100% a month. I mean, people have done it in a month, but repeatable month after month, good luck with that. You're going to blow up your account with like a 99.999% certainty on that. And so go back through and look at your last 10, look at your last 20 trades, and break them down and see what you did right and see what you can do better. I'll end with that, and Dave's going to wrap up with Aussie Cat again. He's still looking at it.
Yeah, I will. I just issued it in the chat. I'll put it on that document that's easier to see. So target for Aussie CAD is coming. Bear with me, folks. I'll just put it on the document, and then I'll comment. So, it's a little turbulent up here in this area as we've experienced today. But now we do have a target. I'll update the left-hand sidebar as well, but 1 spot 00890. Modest target. Prior highs are a little bit higher, but that's what I'm going to put out there. If there is any new stop or change in target or exit position, most likely those will be sent out as, certainly if there's any change in stop or change in target, those will be issued as an update to email in the app, and it'll, in the subject line will say NY PIP room update, and then it'll have this symbol AUDCAD. It's possible also that this will get closed through auto stop feature of the Simplifier, for example, or just closed on a price spike that's happening very quickly, might be ahead of the target. So really, trade as you see fit. This is this is the difficulty of the trades that extend beyond the room. So we'll have the target, but of course, trade as you see fit. If there's some price spike, there's always possibility that could come shy of that, but be a price spike that you might want to take advantage of. If this trade gets closed out without an update, I'll send an update that just said this was closed out, and here's where it was closed out, and here was the end result, whether it was positive or negative. Okay, so we do have a target though, and basically it's a guide. This is keeps fending off these down thrusts. Nice to see EuroCAD, which isn't on screen by the way. EuroCAD plummeted and it's come back near the high. I say plummeted, just all relative to the intraday action. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's EuroCAD down here, 15-minute chart. Basing, tanked, it's come all the way back near the high. So it's good to see that. We're over time though, so we will leave it at that. And you may get an update on Aussie CAD through the email and the app. Tag, thank you very much for today. Interesting session. Wednesday should be interesting because, of course, we have Yellen right in the middle of our session on Wednesday. So that's going to be certainly interesting. But folks,
the week's full of potential little landmines here and there. Look up on the news calendar and factor that in. Do you care? Do you not? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And I can see the case most of the time on both ends. And have fun on the debate on reality TV.
I don't know if that's going to be fun, Tag, but I will be.
If you look at it as a serious thing, it's probably going to be scary, and it probably should be scary. If you look at it like it's supposed to be entertainment, it'll probably be very entertaining. I don't know. I'm probably not going to watch it, though. I'm either going to read a book, take a nap, go to the gym. But there's that. So we'll see y'all on Wednesday.
All right. Yeah. All right. On that note, folks, thanks for being with us very much. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great rest of the day.
All right, folks, and with that, the trade room session is over. And as you can see here, we are right back to around break even on this particular trade. 20 pip stop with I'm going to say about 100 pip profit target. Yep, right around 100 pips. All right, so this video is already about 38 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. But if you guys want to continue to watch these trades, make sure you visit EmpireAmbition.com and you can follow the up-to-the-minute stats. And it looks like they just altered it, which is obviously good news. It's about 1-to-1 right now. So I'll definitely keep an eye on that. And you guys can as well with my MyFX book account at the website. All right, folks. Hope you guys had a great weekend. And